Okay, it's Thursday, just time for a bit of an update. It's actually quite damp here. We've had quite a bit of rain overnight, so so me having to do some waterings, which is good because that's part of my morning routine. Go out and water the plants. I have lost a couple of plants. I lost rosemary. I don't know what happened to the rosemary. I had it planted and it just dried out. Now maybe because maybe I overwatered it because apparently it likes well-drained soil and doesn't need that much water. So because it's near where the Vietnamese mint is, which takes a lot of water, just loves it. I might have drowned it, who knows. It's disappointing when you kill off certain plants, and it's happened to a couple of plants, and it does sort of take a bit of the old thrill out of a growing plant. So the flowers I planted around the front, around the berry tree, they were doing really well, and now they're dying off. Now whether that means the plants themselves will die or it's just the flowers, hopefully it's the latter. Anyway, I've no idea. I did actually get some home maintenance done that I've been putting off for some time. I did that on Tuesday, and that was just changing the washers in the for the taps that were in the kitchen, because I had to really jam them tight to stop any dripping of water. So I got a bit fed up with it. I bought a kit a few weeks back, maybe 3 weeks ago, from a supermarket, and finally got off my ass and did something about it. I actually looked up a couple of YouTube videos to see how to change them, because it's just there seems to be an incredible number of different designs when it comes to taps for different parts of the house, and I found one that was fairly similar to me. It's got a sort of a dome above the actual faucet that goes in, which is hiding the washers down below. I found that right one because I tried doing it one way, it didn't work, and then I found the correct type of fitting, and it said you have to remove these dome-shaped metal covers. I have to unscrew those. One came off quite easy, the other one took quite a bit of effort, so I had to actually use a cloth and put it around the side to get a bit of grip on it, and I was able to actually get it undone, so I've done both now. I've done the hot and the cold, and the hot washer was just white plastic. There was absolutely no rubber whatsoever. Now I don't know whether that's because it's just been worn out or it didn't have rubber in the first place. I think it's got to be the former on that one. I think they all have rubber. So it's a standard shape. I've got about 6 to 8 of these type of washers in this kit, which I bought from Woolworths. And so I replaced both of the washers for the hot and the cold water, and it was a pretty simple operation. Once I knew I had to undo that, unscrew the those metal domes that protect the actual bottom of the faucet. So yeah, that was a faucet. So that seemed to work fairly well. So it's a pretty simple operation. It took me a while to work out exactly how to turn the water off, because it hadn't been used much. I think the main water supply tap out front, so I had to work out which way that went. But I got it all sorted, and once I did that, and had a little bit of help from a YouTube video, it was easy. So thumbs up to I think it was Mitre 10 at Mitre 10 video, and they were spot on with the advice. So that was great. It's an easy thing to do. You just got to have the tools and a little bit of direction, and you don't need a plumber, that's for sure. Oh, they'd love doing that sort of work. It'd be money for jam for them. Yeah, you do need to have a few basic skills around the house to save yourself a bit of money. I'm starting to lose a little bit of enthusiasm for this trip to Thailand. I don't necessarily have to go on it, because the only major commitment I've made at this stage is for the actual flight from Sydney to Phuket and return. And it's a good price and everything. It's enticing to do it, but I was intending to maybe go to a couple of islands after that, and there's actually a webcam for Samu Island, Koh Samu, that island. It's a fairly popular island. It's just off the coast of Thailand, on the opposite side to Phuket. Phuket's on the west side, and Koh Samu is an island just off the east side, and it's fairly popular tourist destination. And there's actually a webcam which is next to a whole lot of bars, so you can see what sort of nightlife there is. And from what I can gather, I mean, it was actually absolutely pissing down last night, the webcam. I kept forgetting to watch it late at night, but because there's a three hour gap between here and there, so I'd have to really watch it just before I'm going to bed, so I can just see when things starting to open up on the islands. And there was no patronage, no lights or anything. It was just a lot of rain. There were people going back and forward down the road in the front of the bars, but there was no life in the bars themselves. So they may be waiting till the 15th of January, whereas Phuket, Patong is already open. Now that's not going to be an issue for me as such, because I would be travelling later anyway, but it does make your confidence is dented a bit about whether a place can, whether the bars are going to be open at that date. There's no guarantees at all with any of this stuff, so you really are taking a bit of a risk. And the other problem for me is that the Thai baht is actually strengthening against the Aussie dollar. At one stage it was about 25 baht to the Australian dollar. Now it's less than 24 baht, so it's dropping continually. I'm not quite sure why that's happening, and it could reverse quite easily, but it doesn't help with the way I'm feeling, especially considering all the bloody tests and crap you have to go through because of what the Thai government requires. I think I've got to actually have another PCR test before I come back to Australia. So you've got to have 2 PCRs, maybe 3, currently 3 PCRs, and they're all going to cost you at least $100. And that's just an added burden with the costs of a trip. Going for a long trip is a smart move because of all these basic costs. If you're going for a short trip overseas, I'd say a lot of people say forget it, forget Thailand. There's too many hassles involved for a short trip. If you're only going over for a week or less, God, I don't think it'd be worth it. You'd have to, if you're going for a month or more, I guess you could wear those costs. It's annoying. It's really annoying. It just keeps adding to costs and hassles. So I'm in two minds about travelling there, and I think a lot of other people will be feeling the same, to be quite frank. The other little complication with travelling to Thailand is that there's been people who have actually caught taxis from the airport, then they've got, or a bus, and they found that the people in that vehicle, they've been COVID positive, and if that's the case, then you have to go through the quarantine process. Even though you may be testing negative, they'll still put you through that ordeal. So there's a lot of things to put people off travelling. It's only a small percentage of people who have been tested positive on arrival, but you wouldn't want to be in that boat. So that's the situation with the travel and everything. I feel like I'm in a bit of a rut here. The post purchase of the property and getting motivated to do basic things, and so that's natural, I guess, and probably a trip would do me a lot of good. So I suppose I should do it, but it's easy to say that. Apparently it's been one of the coldest winters ever for Melbourne, so people have had to go through that lockdown, put up with this incredibly cold winter, and Dan's trying to bring in these draconian laws. Apparently there's a Labor member who's actually going to vote against it, so it looks like it's going to get defeated, so that's good news for Victorians. But while that guy's in office, while he's the Premier, you're really walking on eggshells when it comes to your civil liberties. So I hope Victorians finally wake up to the fact that that they do need to protect their civil liberties and stop putting up with this crap, because it feels like Australia's changed in the last 2 years big time, and it's not changed for good, in my opinion anyway. Yeah, I was. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is this is typical. Oh well, I had the biggest shareholding I have is with Combank, and they took a huge dive yesterday. Shows how irrational the market can be. They reported fairly flat earnings, and they got punished to the extent of 8%. That's quite a big drop in one day. It's down again today slightly, but nowhere near that fall. So they were trading, I think, at about $108 or $107 a share, and then they dropped back to about 99, and I think they're about 98 today. So it's a huge drop, and it's going to happen. They'll work their way up again, because it is quality. They're quality shares. People will pay a premium for them, and they will rise again. So if you want to. So people who want to make short-term trade profits, it's probably a good idea to buy them at the lower level and do a trade. I mean, it is tempting, but it is still a pretty high price at 98. There's quite a bit of room for them to drop down to the 80 to around 90. If they did that, I'd say they'd be a very, very attractive buy, because inherently it's a good business. So you buy quality like that, you're doing okay. The other one, shares, I've had a bit of a rough run with shares lately. My CIM shares, which are the old Leighton's, a big construction company, huge construction company. They've been winning lots of contracts. They've been sticking to their guidance. In other words, their earnings, projected earnings for the year. In spite of all that, they've been punished by the stock market, and it makes absolutely no sense. So they're on the floor at the moment. I want to sell one lot of those shares, but they're going to have to go up a couple of bucks, so it's quite a big ask. But anything can happen in this market. It's extremely volatile, so I guess there is a possibility there. The other one I thought I'd bought really at a low rate was the IAG Insurance Australia Group, because I bought those shares before and I've never got them this cheap. But as soon as I bought them, they dropped even further. They dropped down to $4.35, I think, at one stage, and I bought them at about $4.47 average price, I think, something like that. I thought that was a good price, and it was up to that point. But then, see, when you look at charts, you look at the bottom of the charts, and generally shares will try to test that bottom, and they generally won't go below it. They'll bounce back. But in this occasion, they dropped even further. So pretty unlucky for that to happen. But they've gone up again today a little bit. And again, one thing you'll notice with the stock market, it can take quite a while for quality stocks to actually gain their momentum back. So you've got to have patience. You've got to be able to wait a few weeks or a month or two, or even maybe 6 months before you actually take those profits. So that's just the way it is. I've been in the market now long enough not to panic about any of this stuff, but so that's good. I really should get some gardening done today. Like I said, there's a couple of plants that have died on me, and I've got to repot stuff, and I've got a whole lot of extra potting mix that I bought a week or two ago. But gee, my motivation level's been terrible. I've been really slack. So I've got to basically motivate myself to get off my backside, and I'll feel better for it. I still haven't had a swim down the beach. I should do that. Tomorrow I'm going to be tied up. Oh, I was going to say, that's another thing I think is it coming up to Christmas. It seems to be getting very busy, because I put another order in for Coles for deliveries today. Now, every other occasion, when I've done it in the morning on the previous day, I've been able to get a morning slot for the deliveries on the following day, and that being Thursday today. Yesterday I put the order in mid-morning yesterday, and all I could get were afternoon deliveries, and that would indicate that they're flat chat, and that may be due to Christmas, and probably just deliveries becoming more in favour with shoppers. Apparently they are. they've had a huge growth in Coles. I know that with their deliveries, it's becoming a much bigger part of their operation. And you know, it's partially COVID, but it's just getting used to a new system. For me, because I moved to a house and now it made it possible. I wouldn't be able to do this if I was still living in a flat. I'd still have to shop at the supermarkets. In a way, I'm pretty happy with this situation. It's a lot better getting it delivered to your address, especially if you don't have a car. You get all the heavy stuff delivered, it's like bottled water and my tonic water for G&Ts, all that stuff weighs a fair bit. Best to get it delivered, then I don't have to put it in my backpack when I go and shop at the supermarket. I'll be going to Woolworths tomorrow to shop in person because I've got to go to Cairns Central tomorrow. So I will actually get out and do it. In a way, I'm looking forward to it. Even though it's a mundane day, it's just nice to get away from the house because I'm retired. I'm not doing anything else. You can easily get into a rut. You've got to be really careful. And yeah, like I say, I'm looking forward to a Monday trip on the bus tomorrow, believe it or not, just for a change in pace. Is there anything else I need to really talk about? I mean, you know, Joe Biden keeps slipping in the opinion polls. Big surprise there. Kamala Harris and him apparently are at war with one another. So that's, I mean, you know, what a ridiculous. She was basically appointed because she was part of the diversity push that Biden has, this wokeness where the ability of the person is not the important thing. It's how they slot into do they tick the boxes on the diversity checklist. And because she's her heritage is Indian, she's originally family's from India. She's that gives her a tick. She's a woman. That's another one. The fact that she's an utter incompetent doesn't seem to matter, and she's got a maniacal laugh, and she's probably she could easily be cast as a crazy person in any Hollywood movie, and she wouldn't have to do much work on the acting. She'd just say, "Play it naturally, Carmela. You're doing a great job as it is." I mean, what a freak show Washington is over there. I know I talk a lot about American politics, I guess because it is such a freak show. It's fairly mundane over here, apart from Dan. I mean, Dan's always worth mentioning because he's such an asshole. Not that I've got any love for Anastasia. I notice we haven't heard from the chief medical officer up here for a while. That's interesting. Oh, the good news too is it looks as though the vaccination rates are going up in Queensland. It's good for me in that it's got to be over 90% so I can get back in the country if I do decide to go to Thailand, if I don't renege and change my tickets and what have you. That's another thing that is good. It's up to about 72% now in Queensland, and it was taking a long time just to get up to 70. So it looks as though 80% will be possible in the next few weeks, midway through next month. It's important to people travelling from interstate because at the moment apparently they have to pay some fee to get here. Then they have to self-quarantine in a house if they've got a house to come to. If they're in if it's just a hotel room, it's not going to work. They think they'd have to pay an exorbitant fee for quarantining. So it's not easy for people to come to Queensland yet, but it will be easier when it reaches 80% vaccination. So the milestone is important there, especially for businesses who want to make money out of tourism. Their hands are tied at the moment. The 80% thing's a big deal for them. I have heard of a lot more planes going overhead here. You don't get it nearly as loud as in Parramatta Park, but you do hear planes from time to time, and I've noticed there's been more air traffic lately, so I don't know if that's very anecdotal, whether that is really the way it's going, that more people are coming up here or not, I don't know. And as far as the big boost of people coming up here to buy places, and I know that's happening, there's a lot of places being bought sight unseen by southerners, and apparently they're the big push in real estate here, and there's bugger all listings in it in this part of the world. I've been watching it, and they're just. I'm still looking at the same listings when I was buying my place to see how many houses were up for sale, and there's bugger all up here now. The supply is totally constrained, so I guess there's going to be more push on prices going up here because of the people in the southern states are desperate to get out of places like Victoria and New South. So that is definitely happening. Yeah, I hope the supply does sort of improve, because it's just ridiculous if you're looking for a place at the moment up here. You have to pay real top dollar because there's nothing, no supply. There's nothing listed. Not that I can see, not in the beaches anyway that I've been checking out. So yeah, if you're in the southern states, you're frustrated you can't come up here. I'm afraid it is a waiting game. It's like me waiting for my shares to come good. It can take some time. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. It's not raining now. It's a little cooler. It's taken the edge off the heat, which is good. But it's going to get warm again soon. I have a feeling I'm going to have to use my aircon in this house as opposed to the flat, so I will have a little increase in cost there when it comes to utilities. Anyway, look, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. Please comment on the video, and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much.